NetSparker, the developers of desktop and cloud-based web application security scanners that enable you to automatically identify vulnerabilities in your web applications and web services. NetSparker scanners employ a unique and dead-accurate vulnerability scanning engine that automatically verifies vulnerabilities with their proof of concept. For more information, visit them on the web at netsparker.com or email at contact@netsparker.com.
Endgame's converged endpoint security platform is transforming security programs. Their people, processes, and technology with the most powerful endpoint protection and simplest user experience, ensuring analysts of any skill level can stop targeted attacks before information theft. Endgame unifies prevention, detection, and threat hunting to stop known and unknown attacker behaviors at scale with a single agent. For more information, visit endgame.com. Recorded Future. They help security teams make more confident decisions faster. Recorded Future's technology automates broad collection and analysis of cyber threat data and delivers the rich external context you need to understand alerts and emerging threats. With real-time threat intelligence from Recorded Future, security teams respond to threats 63% faster and find undetected threats 10 times quicker. To get started, go to recordedfuture.com/Security Weekly and sign up for the Recorded Future Cyber Data. Every day, you'll receive an email with the top results for trending technical indicators, cyber news, exploited vulnerabilities, suspicious IP addresses, and more. Subscribe today and stay ahead of cyber attacks.
Welcome to Security Weekly. I am your host, Matt Alderman. We are recording live at DEFCON 27. We're here at the Social Engineer Village. Joining me for this interview segment is Billy Boatright. Welcome, Billy.
Thank you.
Now, you did a talk yesterday on Impostor Syndrome, which we're going to talk about a little bit as well. Give us a little background, though, because you have you have a unique point of view. So I want people to kind of hear. Yeah.
I started as my adult life as a bartender on the Las Vegas Strip for about a decade. I took Chris's social engineering class at Black Hat 7 years ago and realized, oh, that's what I've been doing all my time bartending. And as the years went on and I wanted to transition out of bartending, I went, maybe I could be a social engineer.
Wow.
I already had that skill set.
Right.
I just had to pick up some more technical things along the way.
And so from bartender to social engineer, just like that.
It's a pretty seamless transition because of the skill set a bartender has. I just didn't know the labels. I didn't know I was building rapport. I was just trying to get a $10 tip.
Right. Now you can use that skill to maybe do a whole lot more.
Exactly.
It's way more, potentially worth way more than $10.
Exactly. But all the rapport building, all the being able to talk to the guy that only has money for a beer to the guy that's paying with his American Express Black Card.
Right.
I had the skills to be able to talk to all of them.
That's really interesting. So let's talk about your talk yesterday on Impostor Syndrome. What's the thesis behind the talk?
The thesis behind the talk was I discovered a Babe Ruth quote when I was 10 years old. If you're good enough to have a bat in your hands, you're good enough to swing it. My first year of baseball, I was too afraid to swing at a pitch. I watched every pitch go by. I either walked or I struck out. That's it. I got a baseball card with that quote. Next year improved. I've used that quote in every single thing I've ever done when it's come to performance. Basically, if someone thinks I'm good enough to put me into a spot to perform, I might as well perform. No doubts, just perform. So whether it was auditioning for bartending jobs or giving a talk on the SE Village stage, I submitted the CFP. They selected me. Why doubt myself? They think I'm good enough, so give my talk.
Right. But some people do have a problem with actually doing that. They're either nervous or scared that they can't do it. And so any tips that you brought out in your talk yesterday to the audience for people that are like that?
One of the big ones is to avoid hero worship. when I was a kid, I wanted to be a baseball player. But I didn't just want to be a baseball player. I wanted to be Ken Griffey Jr. But I didn't worship him. I wanted to emulate him. So when I joke around and say, when I grow up, I want to be Chris Hadnagy, I want to emulate his SE skills.
Right.
Not because I don't know his personal life, so I don't want to worship him. So to avoid hero worship, another big one is to get involved. Whether it's volunteering at a B-Sides or signing up for a competition. The competition one's a big one because the mutual suffering of, say, the SECTF or signing up for a class where you have to, have hard homework or something, you'll build a bond with people. And then when you go to your next DEFCON, you've got 10 friends. And then they introduce you to 3 people.
Right.
Now you've got 30 friends.
Right.
And then you're just walking down the hallways 5 years later going, well, that was easy.
Yeah.
Or volunteer to a B-Sides. There's a million of those now.
Yeah. All over, including the ones this week. We stay at the Tuscany Suites. We stay with the crew over there.
And I've been on staff there for 7 years because I'm local to Las Vegas.
Right. Yeah, and they're all over the world at different times of the year. As you think about what you did yesterday, I'm curious whether how do you feel now that you've done it, right? And you've kind of made this progression. This is your first time on a podcast too,
yes, it is.
Right? So I said, take it easy on you. What do you feel right now? How do you feel? You feel?
I feel good.
Yeah.
That was my 3rd SE Village talk yesterday. And I felt nervous the first 2.
Yeah.
But not like I didn't belong, just your standard nerves.
Right.
Like I don't equate nervousness with imposter syndrome. We get nervous for all sorts of stuff.
Right.
Yesterday's felt really good.
Good.
Because it was very personal to me, and it was. I wanted people to be able to take away something, and make their lives better immediately.
Yeah. And you probably did that.
I had a couple messages on Twitter that expressed as much.
Good. How you feel right now?
Good.
Awesome. Billy, thank you for joining us.
Of course.
My pleasure. And with that, we'll take a short break. Thanks for watching. Welcome to Security Weekly. I'm your host, Matt Alderman. We are recording at DEFCON 27. We're here at the Social Engineering Village. Joining me for this interview is Edward Miro. Edward, welcome.
Hey, how you doing today?
Great. So you did an interesting talk a couple days ago. We're going to talk about the social engineering aspects of rideshare.
Right.
So give us a little primer for why the talk.
Okay. So I've worked in IT for about 20 years. I took a little bit of time off from that to work as a federal contractor. And as I transitioned back into the IT world, I did like most people and just decided to drive for a rideshare company just to make ends meet, make a few extra bucks. And as a hacker and a security aware person, I noticed really early on that passengers were sharing sensitive and private information with me. So it caused me to think, what could you possibly do with this if you were a bad person? So it led to me writing this speech that I did on Thursday, and it's kind of like a twofold thing. One is, if you're interested in social engineering, you really have to be good with socializing with human beings. A lot of the books and the content that are out there, they're great, they're amazing, but they're not going to give you, it's not a magic bullet. If you're not comfortable talking to people, then
social engineering is not for you.
No, probably not. So how do you get a lot of social interactions quick, and how do you hone these skills and practice the things that you're learning? I found that rideshare was really good because you get these short interactions with multiple people, different backgrounds, different cultures. If you try something or you're rusty when it comes to socializing, you can wait till the next guy. It's a lot of fun. And also, if I decided to think about if you were a bad person or a hacker or someone who wanted to take advantage of the fact that in these kind of close personal interactions that you're having with people where passengers feel comfortable and they're starting to share things like criminal histories, medical histories,
You're right.
things that could be used against them, how could you use ride sharing to do that?
So, if I never thought about aspects of this, but I did this week primarily because my daughter was here at Black Hat, and she was here at DEFCON yesterday, and she lives up in Fort Collins in Colorado, and I said, well, just grab an Uber and come to the airport.
Right.
And I thought about it for a second. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm putting my 19-year-old daughter in an Uber. I don't know the car she's going to get in,
Right.
okay, and has to get to the airport. And I started thinking about that for a second. I went, was that the right thing to do? Because you've heard some of the stories, right?
Oh, for sure.
But then when we started talking about your topic, I was like, oh, yeah, you're talking to those people. Let's say you decide to tell them, yeah, every Sunday I go to the airport because I fly for work. He knows where you live
Yeah.
because he just picked you up, or
Yeah.
she, and they know every Sunday you're leaving. Does that now make your house a target for burglary because the Uber driver knows that every Sunday you're gone?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And when you come home, right? You come home, they drop you off. It's late at night. There's just, I never really thought about some of the security aspects of that. But this week I did, just because of my daughter. Same thing. She went home on Uber last night. I'm like text daddy when you get home, so I know you got home safe.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like if you employ basic socialization skills like the Dale Carnegie stuff, how to win friends and influence people, talk about their interests, use their name, keep redirecting the conversation back to them, be interested in the other person, they kind of start to feel like they can open up. And I did speak to a psychology professor about this topic, and he says that people, they yearn for an ability to be vulnerable and to open up and to express themselves. And if you put them in a situation where they're comfortable and you're talking about them, you're talking in terms of what they care about. I mean, if you saw any of the other the talks that were by the other speakers, social engineering always comes back to making it about the other person and not about yourself.
Right.
Because what's everyone's favorite topic?
Themselves, right.
So then I thought, well, what if you wanted to use this against a particular company? So ride sharing uses location-based matching. So if I parked outside of your business or your house, if I wanted to target an individual and you request a ride, if I'm the closest driver to you, there's like a 99% chance we're going to get picked up.
Right.
So let's say I want to attack your company. I want to gather OSINTs and I want to gather intel. I can just park near your business and I'm going to get your people all day. And why would you be afraid to talk to a rideshare driver about what software you use?
Right.
Some of the gossip at work couldn't hurt, right? It's
Right.
just this random guy. It's an anonymous, paid, trusted interaction. And I don't think people are applying the same type of security awareness that people like us are thinking about on a daily basis.
Right.
I just think
And it can be a very targeted attack because it's not a person, it's multiple people from the company. So now you're triangulating all this data you're collecting from all these employees over a period of time and building up this kind of portfolio of stuff that you can now use potentially against the company. I never thought that's just an interesting way to think about it.
Yeah, I would pick up passengers and I'd see, in the town I live in, Chico, California, there's probably half a dozen really big tech companies there, so you get really good at picking them out based on the address, and tech people are really good about using rideshare. Like some of them use it every morning and every evening, and it's like, oh, you work for XYZ company. Cool, do you know so-and-so? And, it's easy to drop names. I'm a tech person in my town, so I probably know someone at one point was at any of these companies.
Right.
I know their lingo. I'm interested in technology. I can talk the talk. I can talk about programming and just keep redirecting back into their interests.
Right.
And it's just a natural human thing to want to share more. And I'm just this random Uber driver. I mean, what could I possibly do?
Right, exactly. Any recommendations that you did as part of your talk that the listener should hear from you?
I think I have two recommendations, and they're both targeted towards two specific audiences. If you're a security professional or someone looking to get into information security or social engineering specifically, you need to practice socializing. You need to get good at talking to human beings. Ride sharing is a great way to do that. I consider it a really good laboratory. You can try different techniques. You can try pretexts. You can see what people ask you. And it's a good way to do that. And as far as being a writer, I think it's great that people are amenable to small talk. And the current meta is that people are sick and tired of rideshare drivers that talk too much. You know, in the tech world, we're a little introverted. We want to be left alone, and there is a little bit of that. But as a driver, I assume that most people were going to be like that, like me. But that's not true. Most passengers, even the ones that aren't very talkative, they want a little bit of small talk. So it's easy to engage them in that conversation. So I just think, you know, it's good to be social. It's good to have small talk, but we should probably have a line.
Just watch what you say.
Yeah, especially if you're a person who is a potential target, if you're a high value person. And as a rideshare driver, I would get people from facility staff all the way up to executives. And executives love to talk, and they love to brag about the things that they have and the companies that they own and run. And, you know, they just assume I'm just this random anonymous person.
Right. Which you are to them, but may not be.
Right.
In reality.
I can't imagine there aren't people in the world using this exact attack vector in this way. I mean, it's just too easy. I mean, even just being aware of its potential, you don't even have to target a specific person or a company. Just being aware of using social engineering in that situation, people will start sharing things that could be used against them. It's kind of scary.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, definitely. Edward, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon. Welcome to Security Weekly. I'm your host, Matt Alderman. We are here at DEFCON 27, recording live from the Social Engineer Village. Joining me for this interview is Jayson Street.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Pretty
How you
good.
feeling? I heard you had a little buzz.
Yeah, I had a run-in with a bacon cheeseburger that won. So
Got it.
And it won thoroughly. So I'm just trying to deal with that.
Right. So for anybody that's out there, no pickup hugs today. Just little
just
hugs.
a little low impact hugs.
Got it. Okay. I want to talk badges for a second. 'Cause
Okay.
It's interesting, right? A lot of people who were coming up to me, I took mine off for this shoot, but mine's purple. I think
Right.
that's because
That's
I'm a
the
vendor,
vendor, right.
And so you've got a lot of people with the white ones walking around,
Right.
wanting to get the purple. You've got, that's a blue/greenish one.
Yeah, that's the blue
That's-
speaker badge.
Okay.
The purple vendor, the red goon.
Goon.
And then this is like one of the special magic token ones that Joe Grand gave me. So.
Got it. And obviously you have to connect with a number of people, and it moves you through different levels. Is there a rhyme or reason behind any of that?
I think one of the biggest goals of it is for interaction.
Right.
It's like, I mean, one of the key things at DEF CON is people see a sea of people, and they don't see a sea of possible connections of people
Yeah,
that have the same interest that they're
Yeah.
interested in. I mean, that's what it's about. We all want to stay in our shells, and how do you draw people out that
Right.
way? So there's always been throughout. I've been coming to DEF CON for 15 years, and it's like, and quite a lot of them, especially recent in the last 5 years or so, the theme has been connecting with others. It's like trying to communicate. They've done it through puzzles where you need to like actually look at other
Right.
people's badges
Yep.
for puzzles. It's like, and then electronically you have to transfer data. So I think that's one of the key things is the community is a connection of people that you may not be, outside your bubble of comfortableness. It's like where you can go and reach and talk to them. And while you're bumping badges, it's like actually say hello.
Hey,
Actually
hi.
say what are
Right.
you doing here in the wireless village? Why are
Yeah.
you doing in the hardware hacking village or the social engineering village? Why are you here? It's like, what are you hoping to learn? And that's what they're trying to spark.
Yeah, and I think you're right, especially as we think about the new generation of people coming into the security industry, right? Like my daughter. They do a lot on their phones,
Right.
but they don't do the human interaction
Exactly,
sometimes,
yeah.
right? So if you go walk the hallways, I was over at Flamingo yesterday. We did a couple interviews over at Blue Team Village. Well, a lot of people sitting in the hall, but they're not interacting. They're kind of on their phones, right? So the badges is a way for hopefully people to
exactly.
connect. Let's tie that into social engineering a bit, because if we think about that interaction actually can help us improve some of our social engineering skills as well, instead of just always relying on our technology.
Right. Yeah, I tell people it's like I got into social engineering so I wouldn't have to be technical for a living. It's like it's about hacking the human. It's about just walking in and using social interaction, looking at social cues to actually be successful in what you're trying to compromise.
So as a red teamer, you don't have to worry about all the pen testing tools. You're honing your people skills and using those to actually do some very interesting things.
Yeah, I don't classify myself as a red teamer. It's like I'm like a one-off because red teamers, they have all kinds of tools. They have lockpicks.
Right.
They have all these other.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's all fine and good. It's like, but I come in and I literally YOLO it. It's like I'm there. I tell my clients I give them only 2 hours of recon. It's like I won't do more than 2 hours, and I start with Google. I don't use Montego. I don't use like all these other really cool OSINT tools. That some of them that I teach at Black Hat, I don't use those. And when I come in, it's like I'm usually using a fake badge and a uniform, and have like a rubber ducky, or I have like a bash bunny, or one of the really cool Hack 5 tools to go out and actually attack. Because I want them to understand, red teamers, like when you get that report, you're like, oh, look how elite they did. Look how ninja skills they had. We don't have to worry about that, because we're not going to usually face those kind of people.
Right.
And I want them to say, but are you prepared for the guy who just walked off the street and in 2 minutes and 22 seconds had full control over your bank, which I've done before.
Wow.
And I was wearing a leather DEFCON jacket and red Thundercat tennis shoes at the time. And I had full control, and the video camera timestamp was from when I walked in to having full control was 2 minutes and 22 seconds.
Wow.
That wasn't skill. That was just acting like I'm supposed to be there.
Right, exactly. And I think that's really interesting for people to understand. We put so much emphasis into the penetration tests and making sure our systems are hardened, but then somebody like you walks in and in 2 minutes has control of a facility.
Exactly.
And there wasn't a single tool in what you did outside of Google, which everybody has access to.
And it's all about, and that's why I call myself not a red teamer. I do security awareness engagements. It's like, because I'm trying to train the human. Once I finish compromising place, I'll leave for 2 minutes, and then I come back and I talk to every single person that I compromised, and I explain to them right then and there, this is what happened. I was a bad guy. You didn't feel confident to question me, and this is what happened.
Yeah.
And so it's about empowering your employees. It's about educating your employees, and then enforcing the policies that you've already put in place. If you can do those 3 E's, it's like you're going to have a much better workforce and a more secure environment. But we're not empowering our employees to actually do any critical thinking, do any thinking about what's going on around them. It's like they're not stupid. They know what they're doing. When you say stupid clicker, stupid user clicked on a link, stupid user went to a website, that's stupid information security that didn't properly train their users. It's like they will do what's necessary for them to keep their jobs. If you're not telling them that security is part of it, don't blame them.
Yeah, they're not going to do it.
Right.
And we are curious as humans to click on the link or check things out, and sometimes we don't think necessarily that it potentially is malicious, even though in a lot of cases it is, but it comes down to training.
Right.
And are you seeing improvements in training from a security awareness perspective? Paul and I have talked about this on a few shows. You know, are we getting better at training our employees and giving them that sense of awareness? Now, we know at the executive level, in some cases, with the press and the coverage we've seen with breaches and stuff, at the higher levels, I think the answer is yes. Do you see it improving below that level?
I think slowly but surely it is. I mean, one of the classes I teach is a teach to teacher kind of class, how to create a security awareness program within your organization, where IT security administrators and IT people and security professionals come in to learn how to create a security awareness program internally. And by the way we're getting people in, it seems to be effective. It's like they're actually actively looking at that. It's like, it's not sexy. It's not about like hacking all this stuff, but they're like, this is required. This is something that's necessary. And so their companies are investing money to have them come and learn those things. So I think it's getting better, but it just like when back in the 90s, it's like, you know, when everything was just wide open, it was really bad until Microsoft started saying, hey, we're going to take security more seriously.
Right.
And then there was that gap that you had to fill. It's like, so we've got a gap that we've got to fill. It's been there that way the whole time.
It's been there since day one.
I mean, it's older than MSO 867, which is still effective, and that's old.
Yeah.
So we have to just do that. We have to make it where we're filling that gap up quickly.
Now, if I'm an organization and I haven't made investments from a security awareness and training for my employees, where should they start? Can you provide some recommendations on where should they go? What should they look at? Who should they talk to?
Yeah. The first thing they need to do is new hire training. They need to look at who their new hires are. It's like, and start incorporating security, a security class, a security section in that new hire training.
Got it.
Let them know right off the bat, this is how it's supposed to be done, and embolden them to talk to their other coworkers who have been here and may not have realized that was it. So those are your agents of change. It's like those are your advocates for security.
So
it's
by
like,
training the new hires, they actually help cross-train existing employees.
Exactly.
Because you're infusing the importance of security in the new hire training. You're hoping that they're going to infuse that to the rest of the employee base.
Right. When they walk by and they see a user who has a password on their monitor, they'll say, "Hey, I learned that in security." It's like in security class, you weren't supposed to do that.
Got it.
So they'll be those advocates for you.
Oh, that's great. Any other resources for people to take a look at that might be interesting for people to kind of research on their own?
I think, I mean, it's not even a plug, but it sounds like it, but the social-engineering.org website, Chris Hagnagis has a lot of good books on it as well. There's a lot of resources out there if you could look. And then I do security awareness training individually to companies as well.
That's great. Jayson, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for watching. We'll be back soon.